We're talking with Bob Chapman. I want to get his breakdown. He joins us every Friday, the second hour, to talk about the economy. I want to get his take on the carbon tax passing last Friday, passing the House. Kerry's saying it's going to pass the Senate. Kerry doesn't usually, Senator Kerry, John Kerry, doesn't usually shoot his mouth off. This is just horrible news. It's already been announced. People have seen the bill now. They wouldn't let you read it till after it passed. Home inspections, regulations, taxes. Several states, Ohio and Arizona, are moving to pass state legislation blocking it. This will only accelerate the state sovereignty movement. That's not secession like the media spins it. That's 9th and 10th Amendment. The states made the feds. We're the bosses. All powers not expressly delegated to the federal government are reserved to the states, the people. I want to talk about that with him and take your phone calls. Before I do that, I want to tell you about this hour's sponsor. He's made this hour of the show possible. That's HomeGain. The website is HomeGain.com. HomeGain.com. It's an absolutely free website, and it has the Home Sale Maximizer to help you determine which home improvements can most increase your home's value before you put it on the market. Very easy to use and absolutely free, and can save you or make you a lot of money either way if you're buying or selling. Check out Max, the little orange gorilla, on the Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com banners to HomeGame.com if you miss it. They also have a system that the real estate agents are seeing. It gives you free access to that, to put in your home address, and it will tell you what the real estate market behind the scenes really thinks your house is worth. They have a free estimate on your home's value. They're at HomeGain.com, and a bunch of other free services at HomeGain.com. HomeGain.com. Okay, let's go back now to Bob Chapman. Bob, finish up your point about government-sponsored terror. You know, I predicted, because I saw him fear-mongering, saying flu's about to break out. Then that happened in April. Now they're saying it's going to kill millions, and they got to have worldwide government, and the UN is going to run the New World Order, and they've got to have forced inoculations, and European countries are already starting it, and they have one death in England, and they say that the whole country may, get sick from it, when it's nothing. I mean, they're using that as fear. They're moving troops into Pakistan. They're moving Taliban around, which is globalist controlled, to menace everybody. Got a big story about that up on PrisonPlanet.com from mainstream news sources. Western governments funding Taliban and Al-Qaeda to kill U.S. troops, but not just in Pakistan or Afghanistan. It's now out in the mainstream news that Taliban is being shipped in to attack U.S. forces in Iraq as a pretext to keep them there, manufacturing the whole war. The White House, the last two, Obama and Bush, admit they're funding Wahhabist Al-Qaeda to attack Iran, and the public thinks Iran is Al-Qaeda when it's Shiite, the opposite group. I want to get into that, but you were finishing up with government-sponsored terror. Then I want to get into cap and trade and then calls.
Well, in this case, it's not so much terror. It's more about how do we cover up what we've been doing until we want to pull the plug. Again, harking back to the meeting 4 weeks ago in Greece of the Bilderbergers, the number one thing on the agenda was, this thing looks like it's getting out of control. Maybe we ought to try to button it up. And the problem is they can't button it up. They've gone too far, and they can't go back. And so I think they're in serious trouble. Yes, they're very aggressive. Good example of that was the aggressive defense made by the Treasury in behalf of the Fed in the face of 1207. And they think that's going to work. And even people in Congress are saying, we can't let the Fed do that. It's really out of their realm. It's a private corporation. No. And so they're running into a lot of roadblocks, but I do think they're going to have another war. And I don't know when it's going to start, but they're going to have it. And they're going to have it for one or two reasons, that their plans are coming unglued and they have to do something to cover it, or part of their plan is everything is going to be dreadful. We'll eventually get into a deflationary depression, and when that happens, people are going to be restless, and in order to augment that, then they'll have their war perhaps with Russia or China, or maybe both simultaneously, and that'll take everybody off the streets and supposedly allow them to retain control. And the more we talk about this on the airwaves and the more people who understand what they're up to, the better off we're going to be.
Well, Bob, I want to go to a few clips dealing with the carbon tax and get your take on that. But take North Korea, terrible regime. As the head of ABB, Donald Rumsfeld, the Swiss company, gave them the nuke reactors in the late 90s to build the weapon. That's BBC News. They know there's a power transfer to his next horrid little son. So the first commie dictator gives it to Kim Jong-il, then he gives it to his snot-nosed son. So we're certainly no fans of them, but U.S. forces, South Korean forces, massing, doing flyovers, very provocative, trying to get them, when they're very unstable, to do something to kind of create the crisis. Kind of like the U.S. ambassador telling Saddam, the U.S. ally, go ahead and invade Kuwait. We don't get involved in inter-Arab affairs. We always back you, just like your attack on Iran, Saddam. They're going to test fire a missile. A month ago, they put out their directive. They would fire it today or tomorrow on the anniversary of the first dictator dying, and nothing to do with July 4th. That's when Kim Jong-il's dad died, July 4th. They always test a missile every year on July 3rd or 4th. But the media says they want to attack America on July 4th when they already put out the international directive under international law, just like when the U.S. or Europe or anybody else tests a missile. They're firing it out in the Pacific, a couple thousand miles away from Hawaii. But the media says missile set to hit Hawaii July 4th. The headlines are that Obama, is bold. Here's the ridiculous Drudge Report. Bold on the 4th of July. Will Obama shoot down North Korean missile? So, man, they're going to try to blow up Hawaii with a nuke and murder everyone. And they also say global warming's real and polar bears can't swim. I mean, just complete lying. They're test firing a missile. They're following international law. They're telling people the 2,000 square mile area in the middle of nowhere they're firing it at. And thousands of miles away is Hawaii. Headline, Hawaii to be nuked, end of America. I mean, are they going to use this as an excuse for something, or will this just be Obama grandstanding, saving us all from the evil North Korean missile?
Well, I think what you have to sit back and take in and think to yourself about, is North Korea secretly a client state of the United States government? In all probability, yes. I mean, why would they be doing the things that they're doing? We call them normal for them, but the media is beating the drum and building it up as the great aggressor. I mean, North Korea is not a threat to the world.
They're a joke. I mean, they can't even get a missile off the ground.
That's it. And so I think the U.S. is behind all that. And I think they have the North Koreans doing these things. So another thing is it's a diversion. Let's everybody worry about San Francisco and L.A. getting hit with rockets, ICBMs, and at the same time, they'll forget about the horrid situation that's going on in the world economy.
Well, exactly. In fact, if you look this number up, the last time I saw it, in fact, Google that for all the viewers out there at prisonplanet.tv and the radio listeners. Google, let's just show everybody, see if my memory's accurate. United States #1, no, try this headline. Majority of aid to North Korea comes from U.S. or U.S. #1 giver of aid to North Korea. That'll be the headline. U.S. #1 giver of aid. Because I know through the UN, the United States, last time I checked, was the #1 aid, not even China. And so that point you make has a lot of bearing.
Well, they've done it before, and, most people don't know it, but if you understand how intelligence and counterintelligence works, it's a chess game. And they just move people around, they buy people. I quoted a new book, I forget the name of it, in tomorrow's issue, about the participation of Martin Bormann. And finally, this information is going to get out that Bormann was working for the West. And
by the way, my dad, I'm on the treadmill 2 days ago in the garage at night. My dad comes over to drop my kids off because they've been over there for the day. Granddaddy comes over. He walks into the garage, and he says, look at this book, The Secret History of the CIA. Chapter 1 admits that Reinhard Gehlen was CIA, and so was Martin Bormann, and the whole thing was staged, and the West told Hitler to do all this and then pull the rug out from under him. I already knew that from German histories. That's why Hitler let everybody escape at Dunkirk. He thought he was supposed to attack the Soviets. He was told to do all this. IBM, Ford, General Motors built all his plants. My grandfathers weren't allowed to bomb that when they were flying in the Army Air Corps. We already knew all that, but now mainstream publishers are admitting this. Why do you think this is all coming out now, Bob?
I don't think they can hold it in any longer. I think it's really a case of that. I knew all this about Bormann and many other things because I was hooked up with many people who were in German intelligence and counterintelligence during the war. Most of them were colonels or generals. And they would tell me about all these things. Of course, this was after the war was over, and it was in the 1950s.